Meanwhile, survivors of the deadly attack are sharing more chilling details about just what happened inside the nightclub in the early hours of Sunday morning. 3 of them, in fact, gave emotional accounts yesterday from the hospital roughly 5 blocks behind me. One said that the gunman shot victims repeatedly, seemingly to ensure that they were dead. Our Jamie Yuccas has more.
We're all like scrambling around in the bathroom, screaming at the top of our lungs.
The survivors' gut-wrenching accounts of the massacre are difficult to listen to.
People are getting hit by bullets, like blood is everywhere.
During the attack, 20-year-old Patience Carter and 32-year-old Angel Santiago sought shelter in Pulse's bathrooms.
When it didn't stop, when the gunfire kept going, and we heard it getting louder and closer, I did think to myself, I was like, wow, this is probably it for me.
Both were shot in the leg. Santiago was hit multiple times.
Every time a phone rung or every time a text message went off, he would say, "Where is it? Give it up. Where is it?"
Carter, along with her friends Tiara Parker and Akira Murray, were among those held hostage.
I could see piles of bodies laying over the toilet seat and slumped over, and the bottom of the toilet was just covered with handprints and blood.
When the gunman first opened fire, Carter and Murray escaped outside. They became trapped when they re-entered the club to find Parker. Parker survived. Murray, who had just celebrated her 18th birthday, was the youngest of the 49 victims to die.
I could see my best friend on the floor and Akira just looking lifeless. And at that point, I was just like, I really don't think I'm gonna get out of here, you know, and I made peace with God, within myself.
I look over and he shoots the girl next to me. And I'm just there laying down. I'm thinking, I'm next, I'm dead.
Angel Colon says he was helpless on the floor of the club after he was shot about 3 times in the leg. The gunman took aim at him again.
I don't know how, but by the glory of God, he shoots towards my head, but it hits my hand. And then he shoots me again, and it hits the side of my hip.
Colon was one of 44 victims transported to Orlando Regional Medical Center, where doctors performed dozens of surgeries.
The way that you guys have taken care of us in this hospital is amazing. Yep. If it wasn't for you guys, I definitely would not be here.
Jamie Yuccas is at Orlando Regional Medical Center, again, where more than 24 victims remain hospitalized. And Jamie, that press conference yesterday was just so stirring. The survivor accounts, equal parts catharsis and heartbreak. And again, we learned that there were still so many injured there who do remain hospitalized. So many updates, I suppose, to get to. What is the latest on the injured patients there?
Well, Josh, I think you're absolutely right. I think those small details that came out yesterday were so heartbreaking, gut-wrenching. But I can tell you that at least 2 patients were released in the last 24 hours here at Orlando Regional Medical Center. There's 27 patients that now remain. Of the 27, 6 are listed as critical. But the good news is, just yesterday they were saying that 5 were in grave condition. This morning, the hospital saying on their Twitter account that 1 or 2 remain what they're calling profoundly ill at this point. So that is the good news. The other thing, though, that the hospital points out, both here and at the Hospital of Florida of Orlando that we were at yesterday, where 2 of those patients spoke out, is that they're very concerned about all of the patients' long-term care. Not only physically, a number of the individuals will have to go home, of course, needing extra care for their physical injuries, but also mentally. I know both hospitals have set up grief counselors who are talking to the patients and also their family members and friends and how to deal with this moving forward. So even though a number of patients are being released and they're able to go home, of course, their injuries, both physically and mentally, are nowhere near healed at this point.
I do know that you've seen the shock on the victims' families and friends who've been gathering there at the ORMC all week long. Interestingly, there was a lot made, obviously, of the moments inside that club when Omar Mateen took a group hostage in one of the bathrooms. And yesterday, we heard for the first time from one of those hostages, Patience Carter. What is it that she had to say?
You know, Josh, her story to me, I sent out a note to the newsroom after she she finished speaking, just saying this is probably the most profound and heartbreaking story that we've heard so far. They were in the bathroom, she and a number of young women, and at least one young man was in the women's bathroom for hours with the gunman. And I can tell you some of the things that he ended up saying. They overheard that phone call to 911 where he said that he was pledging his allegiance to ISIS. He also said that he wanted America to stop bombing his country and that that's what he was doing. But all of the people in that bathroom fearing for their life. Patience Carter also saying that she knew that someone was laying on top of her. She had been shot in the leg. She's lying on the ground, and that the person who fell on top of her she knew was dead. So sitting there listening to this gunman, not knowing what was going to happen, you know that someone is dead on you. Your friend who's across from you is looking profoundly ill, and it turns out her friend did in fact die. Hearing some of those details were just incredible and incredibly painful. You can't imagine being with that gunman for several hours, hearing what you did and being able to come out on the other side. There were some interesting details as well that she released, saying that while the gunman was on the phone with 911 dispatchers, that at one point the officers stormed in and there was an exchange of gunfire, and that a pipe had burst. So she's now lying on the ground in this bathroom, not knowing if she's going to live or die. She's been wounded. Someone who has died is lying on top of her, and now there's water filling up in this bathroom as well as blood that she could just feel all around her. And hearing some of those stories, you know, we had heard from family and friends before. It was horrific details, but to hear just kind of the deeply personal stories of being inside there, being told was just unimaginable. There was not a dry eye in the press conference yesterday.
Yeah, giving shocking imagery to the unimaginable, to be sure. Again, Jamie Yuccas, important reporting all week long there at Orlando Regional Medical Center, and I know you'll be there for us throughout. We appreciate it today. Of course, we'll have much more to get to here in Orlando, but for now, we want to send it back to Anne Marie Green and Vladimir Duthier in New York for a look at the rest of the day's news. Guys?
Josh Elliott, thank you so much.